Hi, everyone. I'm Robin Sullivan of the Leather Elves, and I want to welcome you to Friday Night Flock Talk. We are every Friday night at 7 p.m. Well, just about every Friday night at 7 p.m. We go live with a variety of topics related to conservation, avian husbandry. You never know what you're going to find. And so tonight, I need to do the reminders that I always do every week. For those of you that are with us every week, you can like the Leather Elves on Facebook to get notifications. You can check our Facebook page to catch surprise sales and pop-up events, things like that. You can follow us on Instagram, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel. And there are all the ways down the bottom that Nick puts in there that I just believe that's what we need to do. So thank you, Nick, for keeping me on task with that. So tonight, I have a really cool guest that I had the opportunity to meet on our Rockstar road trip and the rescue road trip that we did. Carrie Ellen from Bird Gardens of Naples and I did in July. And this gentleman is Eric Ducharme, and Eric is the Mertailer. And hey, Eric, how's it going?
It's going great. Thanks for having me, Robin. It's great to see you again.
It's good to see you too. So, the Eric's place is called the Mertailor Mermaid Aquarium Encounter. And I'm going to let Eric tell you guys a little bit about who he is, and then we'll go from there.
Awesome. So, hi everybody. It's such an honor to be part of something so magical. Um, my entire life, I have to say, I'm a little nervous. I love speaking with people about my art and my underwater journey through life. But as I've developed as myself and created a little bit more of what is now Mertailor, we've created Mertailor's Mermaid Aquarium Encounter, which is an immersive experience where we have a lot of rescued and rehab marine life and birds, where you can come and experience them for yourself, and not only learn about them, but also have a little bit of a hands-on interaction, with the hope that you will have a little bit more appreciation for them in the end. And we're using mermaids and magic of the mermaids intertwined with the educational conservation to try to get a little bit more of a unique pull from individuals, as opposed to just saying we're a public an aquarium or we're a zoo. So we're trying to take something that's magical and bring it. Basically, we're blending imagination with reality, is what we're doing.
I
It's the best
I
way.
gotta tell you, I love it. And when you're in Lecanto, Florida, and I see Chris is on here. Chris Touchton. Chris is up your way or down your way as well. So Chris, you need to stop by and see Eric. But it's when you drive by, it's your place is very unassuming, and when you open the door and you walk in, it's like magic. It's just you kind of you're transported, and I think that's the really neat thing about what you do. But so I've got to ask, how does one become the Mertailor? How does that happen?
So So I fell in love, like any other kid, we want to be something when we grow up, right? And it was a childhood dream of mine to do something in the realm of mermaids, and just the allure of mermaids just captivated me. And I grew up on the water, and I had a love for the ocean. So I created mermaid tails, and I developed all of these skills, with a little bit of help from my grandmother, on the sewing machine, but then doing a lot of learning on my own and research and development. And I started a small business called Mertailor, creating custom made mermaid tails. And this year is actually our 20th year anniversary. That started in my mother's back porch, and now we have approximately 10 other individuals that are working within Mertailor to help make these dreams come true. And it was a wonderful, wonderful experience. But mostly, the inspiration came from Wiki Springs. Of course, my grandparents brought me to Wiki Springs, in Hernando County, Florida, and I just fell in love. And actually, I had the opportunity of working there for a little bit, as a costume designer, when I was a teenager, and an underwater performer as well. Things kind of didn't go as planned, and I moved on to bigger and better things. And I had this imagination that was just, running in 100 million miles a minute. And I said one day I was going to have my own mermaid show, and then here we are talking. I have my mermaid show. We're creating mermaid tales, and we're trying to promote, animal welfare and marine life conservation.
Nice. And so you said 25 years or 20 years, sorry.
20 years.
Um,
20 years.
so the Leather Elves, we want to celebrate that anniversary. We want to celebrate you and the birds that you've got. So this weekend, I didn't tell you this. This weekend, we're going to run a sale. Any orders placed by midnight Sunday, people will get 25% off, and then 10% of their order goes towards toys for your birds at the aquarium encounter.
That
So
is so
um,
amazing. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. It's like we want to form that habit with your birds. We want to get them, sucked into the Leather Elves world. And so we're going to show them how much fun they are. We're going to send you some toys. Like I said, 10% of any orders. Anybody that uses the code MERMAID this weekend, between now and Sunday at midnight, they'll receive 25% off, and then 10% goes to you guys. So, all
Oh,
right.
that is
So
so sweet. Thank you so much.
happy
Really.
anniversary.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you. I will tell you,
so,
a few toys that you did drop off during the tour, the birds
Mhm.
absolutely love them. And I will say one of the things, and we need to really talk about the birds, right? I mean, we need to talk about the birds. But one of the things that our caretakers and myself including, were the ability to repurpose a lot of the parts. from those toys specifically are so much different compared to just the random wooden bird toys or with chains. It's nice because like you said, the leather kind of holds certain things on the toys themselves, but
Mhm.
then the leather is really nice to be reused.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. So, all right. So let's talk about, this is your dream. This is your imagination at work. Let's talk about what your mission is for the aquarium encounter.
Gotcha. So it's kind of a blended experience, like I was saying, we're blending imagination to reality, but the purpose, if you will, I mean, it's really to bring magic and wonder of our ocean to life through not only our mermaid tales, but the experiences that we have at the aquarium, whether it's just walking through and into this transformed world, like you said at the beginning, or
Mhm,
actually taking part of the experiences that we have here at the aquarium, whether it's, touching a stingray, feeding a shark and realizing that they're not the dangerous predators of the deep that you see on Shark Week. Getting to learn about the different, species of sea stars from all over the world that you have the ability to have a hands-on experience with here. But not only that, you actually can get into our performance mermaid tank where you can swim with sharks, where you can swim with stingrays, and have this whole new intimate appreciation for the wildlife. Now, the way that we're trying to work the conservation angle currently is through our educational exhibits. And I always feel that we have a hands-on approach, which I know that some may disagree with, and I respect that. Um, but when you have that one-on-one opportunity to interact with something so magical and so special and so unique, you almost have a more of an appreciation for it. So the
mhm,
theory is you come to Mer Taylor's Mermaid Aquarium Encounter, and then you can take that feeling out into the world that we live in now and talk to people about it, practice it from a non-touching approach, if you will. Um, but then maybe spread what you've learned here and take your own spin and do something good out in the world with it. One of the things that we're also doing is all of the birds that we have at the aquarium, they're rescued. They're rescued birds, they're rehabbed. They're basically in sanctuary. We kind of talked about that a little bit while you were
mhm.
here with Carrie Ellen, because the birds are here to permanently. This is their home. This is where we want to have them thrive and live for the rest of their lives. Um, let's talk about the illegal pet trade. Let's talk about, how people get these birds and have no idea the responsibility, that these birds come with, their diets, their enrichment. I mean, there's so much we could go into. So the goal is people are able to see all these animals in a safe, intimate environment, have a great interaction, a safe, what we believe to be a safe interaction with these animals, and have more appreciation for it.
Right. And I think, when you walk in, when you first, come in to the encounter, and you walk in and you see this wonderful room with your birds in it. And I think that's, there's a ton of space for them. It's not, they're not all in little cages. And people can get that appreciation for, that they do need some space, and I love, that it's not all you don't walk in and immediately someone's handing you a bird.
No,
It's
no,
definitely
I wanted to take that cage approach out. We wanted to try to make it feel like you were almost living in the environment. Now, granted, I understand you're not living in the environments at Mertiller, but we're trying to create that appearance for
Mhm.
you. Everything's in a close proximity, but they're protected from you,
Right.
you know. And you still get that interaction even with the birds behind the glass aviary windows.
Mhm.
They're all free flighted birds. Um, I mean, we do have the various personalities in the aviary as well. But we work very hard. Our team works very hard to try to create those like symbiotic, relationships amongst the birds that we have, so that way they can live amongst themselves and try to, practice their natural behaviors as they would out in the wild. Um,
Yeah, I
you know,
the last picture, Nick, can you put that up again, please? Eric, I asked Nick to include this one because um, I love what you did here. Can you explain to people what that is?
So that is actually one of our feeding stations, one of many. We had a little bit of a problem where, we're always trying to figure out how we can be more efficient at the facility to give better care to our animals, give more time to our animals, and spend less time cleaning and picking up, even though that's still what we do all day long. We're just janitors to the animals. This is a feeding and watering station. And actually, I think that is Sunny, one of our blue and gold macaws. And so the cool thing is, with my experience and education in knowledge in creating mermaid tails with the various special effects that we use, I actually handmade all of these feeding stations with various materials, like whether it was galvanized metal, stainless steel, PVC pipe, and then I actually coated them all in something called Habitat, which I will share with you all. Comes from a company, Smooth On, that creates, safe products for zoos and aquariums, as well as the special effects industry. And I wanted to create all of these items that looked a little bit more naturalistic, so that way the birds felt a little bit more at home. Obviously, it's a little bit nicer to the eye than just having a bunch of pans everywhere. So we created them, and I created them in a way. There was some inspiration from some online companies, obviously, to create these things, but I took it a step further because I really wanted to embellish them and make them feel even more real, like if the birds were on a tree branch. So there's various little holes that mimic, various pits and trees,
Mhm.
different textures on there. For me, it's all about the textures with the birds. When you think about it, birds are very curious creatures. You could put something in front of their face and they're going to destroy it in 2 seconds. Um, Especially the macaws. So the habitat's a little bit harder, and it has a different texture than some of the ropes and some of the actual pieces of wood that we have in the aviary for the birds. So we were just trying to, be a little extra, but also
I love
provide the
that,
bird.
though. I mean, I love the texture. I love because a lot of times, you'll see birds on display, you'll see birds at different facilities, and they're on dowel perches. And
Yep,
Michelle says, now you're talking Robin's lingo, textures. It's so true because it's all about those different textures. And a lot of times I think, that sensory approach is so important,
yep,
to me anyway, with when you're creating enrichment, and the texture there is phenomenal. It's not, just a smooth surface. It's not, they can grip it. It's not going to, the
yep.
habitat isn't, that product. It's just called habitat, and it's not
It's called
something that you,
habitat. Now, and the cool thing about the habitat is, so we actually, at one point, I made the entire so because these children of ours, these feathered children of ours, they just destroy everything. This aviary has been rebuilt so many times to try to give them as much enrichment and newness
Mhm.
as possible. So at one point in time, I used a material called Habitat Flex, and instead of having just bare ropes in the aquarium, we actually created all of these Habitat Flex ropes. So they also looked like vines, and then we would supplement with real vines from the woods or other facilities that we could get, bird safe pieces of wood, whether it be dragon wood, manzanita wood, things like that, grapevine, and we would wrap the fake perches in those, so
Nice.
that way the birds would have actual wood to break, and then they would have the awesome perches to go onto. But yes, texture is everything, and they can grip on it. And some areas are a little bit more sandy than others, so it's different all the way around. And
Right.
the other thing is, you've got the ways for the birds that they can climb up and down, they can get around. So there's multiple birds that can actually feed on that station and not kill each other and fight over food all the time.
Right.
They can try to still create that mentality where, okay, I'm going to go around in a circle and I don't want to be here anymore. So now I'm going to get on this perch and exit stage right.
Right. So with the habitat, so the habitat flex, you can create vines, you said. How
Correct.
about
Yep.
flex habitat it's called?
Yep. Yep. It's
Okay.
called Habitat Flex.
Okay. Because Chris said too, it's better for their feet too, because it absolutely is. What if somebody's
It
got an
is.
outdoor aviary? Can you use it? Will it stand up outside?
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. So the nice thing about the Habitat Flex is it's totally inert once it's mixed together and cured properly. It's
Uh-huh.
basically a two-part epoxy dough is what it is. And then you can
Okay.
paint it with safe urethanes and epoxies. I mean,
Mhm.
obviously, if the birds are starting to like really take chunks of it and trying to consume it, then you take it away and repair it and replace it.
Sure.
But it is able to withstand the weather for sure. They
Nice.
actually, I can tell you, there's in Zoo Tampa, all of their
Mhm.
outdoor perches for all of their macaw flyovers are made out of habitat, and
Oh,
they're out
nice.
24/7. Yep, and
Yeah.
actually, all of the coral pieces in our aquarium, and all of them, with the exception of the real things that we have, they're all created from habitat and two-part epoxy doughs.
Nice.
So
I mean,
they
I
can
and I think
definitely withstand.
yeah, and it's got so much potential, I think. How difficult, I a lot of aquarium work is done with it and a lot, like you said, a lot of zoo stuff. How difficult is it to work with?
So it's not necessarily how difficult that it is to work with Robin, it's how messy it is to work with.
Okay.
Um, you gotta wear gloves. I mean, you're definitely gonna destroy your clothes. You wanna have a nice area, I guess I should say well ventilated, or just a really nice big space, where you can put plastic down and go to town. Once you mix it really well, I think the hardest part for me is the fact that I'm impatient. So sometimes you start and then you stop and then you start again, but I try to finish it so it's one whole solid piece. But it attaches to itself permanently and it's not coming apart if as long as you mix it properly. But you have to use a folding powder in with the
Mhm,
dough, and that's what makes it from falling off of whatever piece that you're trying to wrap it around.
mhm.
And then you basically spray it down, and hey, there's a picture of the Habitat Flex right there,
Nice job, Nick.
actually.
Thank you.
Yep, yep. So you can so with the folding dough, with the folding powder, you can actually see those individual hands right there, with the gloves on, and they're just putting around the rope, and they squeeze it. And then actually, what we did is we took some safe silicone, platinum grade
Mhm,
silicone, went outside and took a mold from one of the trees that was dying, and then I impressed all of that around there. So there's all sorts of different textures on there, which is great because you know yourself, when you get bird perches, they're generally one soft, solid texture. So at least with
yeah,
this, it gives the birds a lot of different, and they're easy to clean too.
nice.
They don't
Okay.
absorb, they're not porous.
Oh, that's great.
So
So
a lot of
Asked
benefits, a lot of
Frank asked, "Where can you get this, Eric?"
So a company called Smooth On is who sells it. It's smooth dash on smoothon.com. If you're in Florida, there's a company called Reynolds Advanced Materials, and they also have chains throughout the United States that sell their products. So they're basically owned by the same company, but it's their sister company that sells retail to the general public. So either smoothon.com or Reynolds Advanced Material.
Thank you,
Okay,
Reynolds, for
Frank
that photo.
what? Oh, that was
That
a
was
photo for
Reynolds.
the
Yeah.
nice. And Frank wants to be in Florida, Eric, but he's in New York. So,
Okay. I
he's
mean, I
probably
think
gonna
there's, if I'm not mistaken, I think there's I think there's a Reynolds Advanced Materials in New York. I'm
Okay,
pretty sure there is,
nice.
but they ship
'Cause
worldwide, so
I just think it's got so much potential. I think the flex is another would be great because, like Michelle said, I'm all about the texture. And I think if it has, has some give to and, it could be because I think that's important. I think,
now
branches
get
don't stay.
this. I haven't tried this yet, and I keep saying I wanna try it, but I never have time to experiment. It's kinda one of those things where I have to make it because it needs to happen. Um, I want to try to speckle or sprinkle, if you will, sand before it cures,
Uh-huh.
so it's a little bit rough. And then I actually just used, acrylic like, safe acrylic paints that are non-toxic
Right.
on top of it. And I'm wondering what kind of a texture that will give as well. I'm hoping that will do 2 things. Number 1, it may help with nails. Number 2, it
Hmm.
may help also with preventing them from trying to chew, even though, knock on wood, they really haven't been chewing on these. So, which means
Yeah.
we're doing a better job at providing more enrichment, for the birds.
Yep, I always say that, it's people, "Well, the bird ate my woodwork." Well, no, because we need to have an option. We need to have other opportunities. And so I you've got your cheering section here that says, "Yes, let's do that." So, now you need to have you have the free time. They just volunteered the free time for you. Um, she's gonna cover
Yes,
that
yeah,
for
I
you.
know. Yeah, I see that. I see.
But,
I will teach her how to do
so
it away.
nice. There we go. There's gonna be a workshop at the, Mertailors on how to make these, coming up, so, aren't you glad I just committed you to that, Eric?
I mean, you know what? If it's better for the animals, honestly, I'm always trying to make the animals' lives at the aquarium better. Whether it's trying to refurb, an exhibit, upgrade the filtration system, or try to build enrichment toys for the bird aviary. I mean, we're just always trying to do something. So it's always
Mhm.
about perfecting. I mean, you never know what you're gonna walk into. You just never know what you're gonna walk into when you walk into that building in the morning.
No, when you're
Never.
dealing and I think that's anywhere you're dealing with live animals, that's always a challenge. But so how do you so the mermaids, is are they and I know that's your passion, but are the mermaids the kinda hook that gets people to come in and then you teach them about conservation? I mean, is that kind of the approach?
Absolutely. So, a lot of people actually come to the aquarium to see the mermaids, and they don't realize that there's an entire aquarium or zoological portion to the facility at all.
Mhm.
But they are actively involved with various conservation efforts. I mean, they are swimming in an aquarium. Yes, they are definitely swimming in an aquarium with various fish and stingrays. Um, one of our shows that we're currently swimming right now is slightly has a little bit more of ocean conservation to it, but we're actually working on some new shows that are very devoted to. I'm sorry, I have
That's
birds and
great.
children screaming around, but welcome to my life. Um, but they do generally drive the people in for sure, and then once people get there and they see that we have so much more to offer, I mean,
Mhm.
their minds are generally blown.
Yeah,
And one we're trying to do with the mermaids is we are working on trying to do more outside of Mer Taylor, trying to work on doing some beach cleanups and trying to go out into the community and use the mermaids as, that ploy to be like, hey, pay attention to this.
right.
One of the things that we do is we've teamed up with Save Crystal River, and a lot of the times the mermaids will go out there on their annual eel grass planting day with the students from the schools, and the mermaids will go out to the spring from the aquarium and plant the eel grass with the kids.
Nice. That's
So
great.
So there's small things that we're doing right now, it's baby steps and trying to grow the aquarium, which is I know that's
Mhm.
another topic we're gonna get to for sure.
But I when you and I were talking, I kinda call it sneaky learning that,
Very much
because
so.
when I do presentations, I use a lot of humor, that's my thing, and I feel like if people are laughing and enjoying themselves, which everyone I saw at the encounter the day we were there was enjoying themselves, you do a scavenger hunt, right?
Yeah, so my husband actually came up with this really awesome idea and said, let's do a scavenger hunt." So rewinding just a second, when the customers come in, I like to call them the guests. When the guests come in, they
Mhm.
basically have an hour to go through the entire aquarium, learn about things, go through the exhibits, interact, and our staff are actually very informative. That's one of the things that makes us so special. So they're getting an education about the individual animals and the various exhibits and where the animals come from and what we can do to protect them and do better. Um, and then you see the mermaid show at the end of that. So you're actually learning about all sorts of stuff before you get to the fun part, but
Mhm.
people are like, "Oh, I actually just did the fun part." um,
Right?
but we made the scavenger hunt, and we did the scavenger hunt because we found a lot of people were going through the aquarium very quickly because they just wanted to see the mermaids. Well, with the scavenger hunt, it actually makes them go all the way through the aquarium and spend more time learning about things that they don't know they're learning about. And we have a couple
Mhm.
of different levels. So we have our basically I call it our pre-K one, and it's just like a picture diagram with the various things around the aquarium, and the kids and the parents just go around and check it off when they see it. But when they
Mhm.
go and see it, they actually have to kinda look, and then they have to read about things. And one of
Nice.
the things that makes us so special is we don't just I mean, we have a lot of little small, purposeful, exhibit information through the aquarium, but we have massive signs that are very, picturesque and in detail, go into detail about things. And then we have a crossword puzzle that we just put out too for the adults and the teens and the older kids, and it's we're finding that it's really helping, with our positive reviews, if you will, because people are like, wow, I didn't realize there's actually so much here to learn about.
Mhm. No, and
And there
I
is.
loved your signage. I forgot to send it tonight. I have a picture of your signage in front of the bird aviary. It's great. And I think, it's that it is so immersive. It is, you can't remember that you're in Lecanto when you're there.
No, and
Once
that's
you
that I didn't
explore.
want, I didn't want that. I wanted people to be like, oh, I'm basically going into Wonderland.
Yes. And that's exactly what you've accomplished. So the birds are all rescue. How did you get involved with birds? I mean, you wouldn't expect to find as many birds as you have at your average aquarium.
This is very true. So I grew up with birds, macaws. Um,
Mhm.
and it was just something that my dad had a love for, my mom accepted. I had a yellow-nape Amazon named Baby growing up that was super, 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 super mean.
I thought you were
Couldn't
gonna say
touch her.
sweet, and I was like, "You're lying," but okay.
No, no, the the only thing she would say was, "I love you." That was pretty much the only sweet thing she would ever say. And then, when she said it, she wouldn't stop saying it. So then I got annoyed. But anyway, so my father and I, we went through that whole bit where I was a young kid and my dad wanted to get me animals and I tried to, do my best to take care of them when I could. And so I grew up with the birds and mostly, like I said, the macaws. I had a blue and gold when I grew up. I had a green wing when I grew up. But I was very, I must admit my guilt. I was a very, very uh, outgoing teenager and spontaneous. And I just got to the point where the bird was not getting what it needed. So we were able to find it a different home. But bird actually bit me, and it scared me, and it was one of those things where I was just not developed, I don't think, enough to realize what I was getting myself into on my own.
Mhm.
Um, but I said, when I was an adult, one day I was going to have another bird. So, um, yeah, what Amazon isn't mean? They're all mean. Um,
So go ahead.
but but the husband and I was like, let's get a bird. So we ended up getting a bird together, and then we said, you know what, let's rescue. Let's get more birds. Let's rescue another bird because let's get another bird. So we got another bird, and then we rescued another bird. We found a pet store that had a couple of birds that really just needed to be rehomed. They did not need to be there at all. I literally walked in and I looked at the lady and I said, "You're a fish store. These birds are literally swimming in black water, and here's a $500 bill. I'm leaving. Thank you. Goodbye." I really didn't give her much of a choice. So we took the birds. We gave them a really good home, and then there was some individuals that heard that we had been rescuing birds through some friends. So then we got another bird, and then another bird, and then another bird. And so basically, here we are in this big house with all these loud macaws, and eventually a cockatoo that we ended up adopting from the Hernando County Pound. That was a rescue from a really
Mhm.
horrible situation. And when the ability came to open up the aquarium, I said, let's move the birds to the aquarium. Let's get them out of these cages. Let's get our home life back, and maybe give them a little bit of an extra enrichment because the birds love people, and
Mhm.
it's a form of an enrichment because
Oh,
that's what
yeah.
they're used to. So they get to see all of these different crazy people. I mean, think about it. You know how many little kids that jump up in front, up and down in front of the windows, and then the birds start dancing, and
Yeah.
then some of them start screaming hysterically, but that's how it all started.
And I think it's interesting because everybody's got that, we had one and Michelle was one. So are there six there? Six birds at the aquarium?
So, uh, we have, oh goodness, you're testing me right now. No, actually, we have 13 birds at the aquarium. We have
Is it
13
really that
birds.
many? See, I gotta
Yeah, we
say, the space that they're in, you can't really
mm,
tell there's that many because they all have their own space. They Yeah, that's a credit to you is that they were doing their own thing. They were, a couple hanging out together, but that's interesting. I thought there were fewer. That's neat.
no, 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 we have about, well, actually now we have 12. Um, but we have quite a few, and then we have, I would call them our ambassador birds. At least one of them, actually, you guys showed a photo of Clyde earlier. He's our youngest.
Mhm.
Came from a divorce situation. And his sister, if you will, is just an umbrella cockatoo, and she doesn't like people very much. She likes a couple of us, but being out in public, not so much. But Clyde is able to go around. But we have some cages in the back for them, so that way they can go off site. Whereas the other birds stay in the aviary, 24/7, unless of course there's a type of issue where we can pull them out, and they need a little bit more solitary, quiet time for themselves.
Mhm.
And then we do have a yellow, no, a blue-fronted Amazon in the back named Roberto, that is in solitary confinement because he's very, 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 and very, very, very aggressive. But the good news is all of our back end staff have a very close relationship with Roberto.
Nice, nice. I was gonna say you're gonna have all my Florida people over there working with Roberto if that's what you want. Um, but Frank says you always have room for one more. It's true. They're like glazed
Uh,
potatoes, you know.
Well, I mean, if you remember, Carrie Ellen had made a point of saying, "Hey," and even Ziggy's our one of the local rescue sanctuaries here is like, maybe, maybe.
Need a few
So,
more. Be careful.
but
Kim and
I
Laura do an amazing job. You just don't. There'll be slipping birds in there, though.
Listen, as we grow the aquarium, the way that I have planned to grow the aquarium, I want to be able to grow it in such a way that we can continue to provide other species and specimens and animals and birds a very
Nice.
good forever home.
Very nice. So all right, what's the biggest challenge with managing the with managing the whole experience?
So, I mean, I think the biggest challenge is the fact that, I went into this not knowing what I was doing, but I said I was going to do it. I did the research, I did the homework, I talked to the experts. I failed a lot um, to do something good. And I think that was, I would actually say that's probably one of the biggest challenges for me is the fact that I've had to accept failure, you know,
Mhm.
to try to do the best that I can do for not only the staff that work there, but more importantly, the animals that are in our care, that, are in our lives that we're responsible for. Making sure that the animals have, good health care, that make sure that the exhibits are being maintained and managed daily. Thankfully we have a great team that comes in every single morning, that is there every single day, that is in there and cleaning cracks and crevices to ensure that the exhibits, whether they're the aquariums or the aviary, are clean for the birds. But also the
Mhm.
fact that they also have to be engaging to the public, Um, and another whole component to this is balancing the role as an entertainment venue, but then has a mission to be educational and conservation focused,
Mhm.
That's a big challenge because I don't just want to be a roadside an aquarium. I don't want to
Right.
be a roadside zoo. I have, aspirations of being accredited. And, we had a conversation about this. You don't have to be accredited to do amazing good things,
Right.
but I really want to be able to do good things. And I want people
Well,
to see that things.
you shared with me that you have been inspected, right?
Yep. So, uh, fright of my life, realizing that we had to get licensed by the USDA because of the
Mhm.
birds. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, we're gonna fail. We're gonna fail. We're not doing right. We're not doing good enough." Like I was reading the bylaws, like I would finish all the bylaws and all the standards, and then I would read them again and again and again. And then I finally actually reached out to Ziggy's and I they were like, "Chill out. We're gonna help you. We're gonna get through this. Um, it's fine. You're great. Your facility is great. You have great people. We've been there. We know you. Your animals are healthy. You're gonna pass with flying colors." So um, they were just such a crucial part and basically calming me down and then helping me through and like to say, okay, this is what we did. This is what, maybe you should do. And then they really helped me get through. And um, one of the things we always needed was, I do have assistance from veterinary care from various
Mhm.
veterinarians for the various species of animals that we have. But we now have a facility vet and
Nice.
no, they're not there 24/7. They're there when we need them to be, but we also can go to them. And the nice thing that I love about this individual is what she doesn't know, she tries to learn about, and she will do the research and she will do the homework, and she's very, very good with the birds, and she's very knowledgeable, and I do
Are
appreciate
you
that.
willing
So
are you willing to share her name?
yeah, so, I don't have a problem with it. I've had wonderful experiences with her, and it's Dr. Susan Billiard, from, Denellen. She's in
Mhm.
Denellen.
Okay.
Um, but she comes out to us, when we need her, and, she's really great. I know she works with other local facilities, that deals with exotic animals, and she assisted us with creating a formative enrichment plan and dietary needs and some suggestions. But she's also been, I mean, honestly, like her first visit, she was helping me do a biopsy on a stingray that had a growth, and she wasn't
Wow.
even there for that. She was there to look at the bird, and she was there just kinda go around things. She's like, "Well, I got my stuff in my truck if you wanna go ahead and help me take a sample, and we can send it off and see what kinda growth we have going on and come up with another treatment plan," and I was like, "Yeah, let's do it." So, we did it.
Nice.
So,
Very.
that speaks a lot to me.
Mhm. Oh, definitely. And so I think you should know that you're not alone when it comes to that terror that is USDA inspection. But you should also feel really good about the fact that it wasn't an issue for you. You passed inspection.
No, we
That
did
is a
our first inspection, we passed.
nice,
It
very
was
nice.
I mean, we worked really hard for a couple of months before I was like, "Okay, this is when we can schedule this," you know?
Mhm.
I mean, but even up until the day, I was like I would do something that I thought would be really good for the birds, and then, our Moroccan cockatoo, excuse me, he would get on the ground, and of course, he'd go right up to it and tear it apart, and I'm like, "You gotta be kidding me, this is metal, how in the world did you do this?" You know what I mean? But he did
It's
it.
his job,
So,
but I just wanna go back for a second. Michelle made a comment, and Nick had put it up, that when you were saying that you had to accept failure, and she said, "From this standpoint, you didn't accept failure at all. You challenged it and created your niche. Congratulations."
I
So I
appreciate
just wanted
that.
to share that. But, okay, USDA, all set, not a problem.
Nope.
Now, what's the road to 501(c)(3)? How's that going?
So we are currently we are a for-profit, facility because I really wasn't sure where things were gonna go. I mean, we are a reasonably smaller facility. Yes, a male too. Funny story, everybody was like, "Oh, he's a female." I'm like, "No, it's a male." So, anyways, it's scientifically proven that Eric was right and Dancer is a male, and has a bunch of girlfriends now. But anyways, yes, nonprofit 501. I've been wanting to grow this aquarium. My heart for animals and wildlife and conservation has grown so much in the last 4 years. This is our third summer, but we've been working on this now for 4 years. We had a lot of hurdles in the very beginning. We bought this building through COVID, and we did all of this through COVID, not even knowing if we were going to be able to be successful. But this is our third summer, and I want to grow the aquarium, but I want to grow it in a different way. I want to grow it so that way we can really focus more on the conservation efforts and grow um, our educational programs, that we have going on that I have in
Mhm.
mind, and I think by doing this, we'll be able to create a much larger area to give home to more macaws, more birds, um, do you know how many people try to swim by the aquarium on a regular basis and say, "Hey, here's my bird. I can't take care of this. Here's my reptile. Here's my tortoises. Here's my 200-pound sulcata tortoise. You want to take this? Hey, I have these rabbits, or hey, I have these chinchillas. Will you take these?" And I'm like, unfortunately, we don't have the space right now.
Mhm.
But we're in the
Mhm.
process of trying to form the nonprofit, and that will be the next step to the growth of the aquarium. And the aquarium will help fund the nonprofit, but then we can also have outside resources to secure funding and support from various, organizations, government organizations, community funding, fundraising. The goal is to create this beautiful sanctuary
Mhm.
around the outside of Mer Taylor so we can start to expand and have like a miniature sanctuary zoo and because it's needed in our area. I mean,
Mhm.
I don't know if you saw this, but on Monday, for example, we ended up with a new puppy. We ended up with a new puppy. Somebody somebody in one of the nearby neighborhoods just had a litter of puppies and threw all the puppies outside to fend for themselves. And this is the second time that we know this has happened. And the puppies ended up in some of the ditches behind our houses. Well, we ended up with the puppy, and he's a beautiful ball of energy. And one of our other dogs ended up here the same way, ended up in the retention pond right behind our house, just flea and tick infested, and we try to give it a good home. So I want to be able to do that in a bigger way,
Mhm.
um, but in a way that we can also use as continue to use it as an educational way to provide education, to educate people
Right.
on how to, what we should and shouldn't do. Maybe you shouldn't be
Mhm.
caring for these animals if you can't take care of them.
Right.
And there's so much of it,
Absolutely.
so much of it.
So, how can people help you achieve your mission? What can people do, Eric, that to help with this?
Well, I mean, one of the things, what you offered already by providing them the opportunity to basically buy toys through you for us at, and with discounts. I mean, that's just so grateful for you, Robin. Seriously, thank you, and the rest of your team. I mean, but honestly, the first thing that they can do is promote the aquarium. Come to the aquarium, learn about us, meet my other half, meet all of our staff, meet our animals, support us by coming to
Mhm.
the aquarium and seeing what we have to offer, and then going out and talking about it. Following us on social media, like we always say, to keep up with us. Once we become a nonprofit, are you able to provide any type of service to help make us, make this dream come true, and provide better sanctuary for the animals that we plan to take care of and take in, and give home to. We do have I did see a couple times that you've been flashing the volunteer. We do have employees. Yes, we do have full-time employees, but we also depend on volunteers. We do have some volunteers already that are so great. We wouldn't be able to do it without them. They come in, 1 or 2 days a week, and they basically talk to our guests and educate them about all the awesome wildlife that we have at the aquarium, and just interact with our guests and provide them with a wealth of knowledge by the time that they leave. Actually, one of our volunteers is a retired school teacher, and she absolutely loves the aquarium, and she loves, loves, loves the aquarium. We
Mhm.
have some mermaids that do mermaids as a hobby, and they come in and they also volunteer. We also have an online store on the aquarium website, um, where we do have some aquarium merch,
It's
um,
great.
and, and all of I appreciate that so much, and all of that, goes back to the aquarium just for enrichment for the animals, our overhead, and just the expenses of keeping the aquarium open. It's a
Mhm.
lot. It's definitely
Yeah,
a lot. I'll tell you that.
yeah. So, and the volunteer opportunities, is there an age, like a minimum age? How does that work?
So, so respectfully, realistically, all of our volunteer opportunities are 18 and over. Just because we really need individuals who are responsible, are able to drive back and forth to work, if you will, themselves,
Mhm.
and capable of making their own decisions in life.
That makes sense. No, that's I mean, and that is fair. So before we close, Eric, what if you could choose one thing for people to take away from their visit to the Taylor's Mermaid Aquarium encounter, what would that be?
Well, what I'm hoping from the individuals that leave there is a couple of it has to be a couple of things. I talk a lot. I can't
Alright,
I
alright.
can't not. I hope that, with what we've provided them, that they're getting an educational experience, and they can take action in their own lives, to protect the environment, and the smallest thing that they could do, whether it's recycling, or taking care of a rescued animal, or picking up garbage at the beach. is so important. That would be the best thing for me. Um, but also hindsight, living your dream and doing what it is that you love to do, because you're the only person in the world that can make a difference. And sometimes making that difference is for yourself, and living your dreams and taking your goals to the next level, because no one else is going to do it for you.
Oh, I love it. Absolutely, 100%. And I want people to know too, you guys had a show on Netflix, right?
We did. We were part of a 4 part, 4 or 5 part. Oh, I can't even remember anymore. We just celebrated a year. Mer People on Netflix. We were one of the mains that was followed around for quite a while. We were actually filming through COVID and pre-COVID, actually. Um, and they followed us around on my journey to the creation of the aquarium, and a little bit of the history of Mer Taylor and myself at Wikiwachi. And unfortunately, it doesn't show a lot of the aquarium. It shows more of the mermaid aspect of it. Um, but it's still fun, and watch it with an open mind, and just realize that this is people just trying to have fun with their lives, and they're not hurting anybody, and they're just trying to make a difference for themselves and the world around them. And I'm so honored to have been part of that. um so honored. We have so many people that come in the aquarium just because they saw the show on Netflix, and they just wanted to see the world that I created. So
Mhm.
it's special. I think everyone should watch it.
All right, so that's still available on Netflix, and I gotta say, I mean, everybody wants to be a mermaid at some point. I mean, I have gone my husband and I dressed up as the mermaid and the fisherman one year for Halloween,
There
and
you
we had a
go.
ball. Was so much fun. And I showed you the picture of my granddaughter in her little mermaid outfit when we met the first time. So I want to say to everybody, the work that Eric and his team are doing with the birds that they have is phenomenal. The opportunity, the habitat that they've created, in addition to the rest of the experience, is really it's worth visiting. It's also not overwhelming. It's a really manageable place to visit, in my opinion. I really that's what one of the things I liked about it. But I
Feel
really
like
love
home.
it is like home. It's and I love the your mission with the conservation and the education sneaks up on you and you it just kind of happens and it's really a very comfortable place to be. So I want to thank you. And again, if anybody wants to order toys, Leather Elves toys by midnight Sunday, you get 25% off, and then 10% of your order total will go towards some toys for the birds at the Mer Taylor. You just have to use code mermaid when you check out. And Again, if you're in Lecanto, if you're down that way, definitely stop by. If you're not, if you're planning a visit to Florida, I know Frank likes to go to Florida. Frank, if you're going to Florida, you got to go to visit. So, thank you again, Eric. And just again, in closing, I just want to let people know that if there's anybody that you want to hear, that you want to see in the bird world, we visited so many places on the Rockstar Rescue Tour, and a lot of those folks will be coming on as guests. But if there's somebody you want to hear from, send me a message and I will try to make it happen. No promises, but I'll try. And Eric, keep living that dream and keep bringing the that imagination and fantasy to people. I really appreciate what you do. So thank you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. It was wonderful.
Anytime. And we will see you guys next week. Everybody take care and have a good week.